So today in this video, we're talking about Kaizens. Hey, what's up guys? Chad here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So first of all, just let me say, apologies for the way I look. I'm running errands with the family today, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to do this video on Kaizen. If you're new to the channel, this is a Lean Six Sigma channel. Basically, I do a lot of videos around Lean and Six Sigma. I'll deviate a little, but that's really the core of this channel. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, make sure you click that subscribe button. Likewise, always give me that thumbs up because it does help promote the video, helps it get more exposure. Now, as I go through this video, I'm going to be looking away some because I do have notes over here and I don't really want to miss anything because I'm going to try to run through this as quickly as possible, but I also want to make sure I don't miss some key topics, some key things that I think you're going to need when trying to navigate your way through a Kaizen event. So I've broken this video down into a few key categories. Number one, we're going to define the Kaizen. Number two, we're going to talk about 3 components to ensure Kaizen success. Number 3, non-negotiables to ensure success. We're also going to look at the schedule of the Kaizen event, and then any materials needed for the Kaizen event, and then best practices. Now the best practices part are things that I've learned over my career. I've done tons of Kaizens, I don't know, a lot of Kaizens, just put it that way. I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, so I've done a lot of Kaizen. One thing I do want to say is that it's important to read your audience when you're doing Kaizens. It's important to kind of see what's working for the audience, what's not working. I mean, I've gone into a Kaizen before and used a tool that didn't really work out too well, so I had to shift gears and go a different route. And that's okay, and it's okay to change the direction if you need to. That being said, it's also very important to cover some of the things we're going to talk about in this video so that doesn't happen when you actually get inside the event itself. And if you don't know how to do that yet, don't worry, just keep doing Kaizens. You'll learn that skill as you progress through Kaizen. I didn't know how to do that in my first Kaizen, right? You sort of learn how to do that. You sort of learn how to read your audience. And as you go through Kaizens, you'll start learning more tools so you can kind of shift and pull the tools and concepts that you need when you need those tools and concepts. So don't feel discouraged if you don't know how to do that right now. Just keep doing the Kaizens and you'll get better at it. So to understand Kaizen fully, we need to understand what Kaizen is. So let's define it really quickly, okay? So the word Kaizen is a Japanese word and it really stands for change is good. Kai meaning change and Zen meaning good, right? Kaizen, you put those together, change is good. Now we always hear it as meaning continuous improvement. You probably heard me mention this in a video before. Don't get hung up on the semantics. The reason I want you to understand the word is because when you know that the change is good, or the word Kaizen means change is good, the next part of this video is going to help kind of bring some light to why that's important. So when you go from Kaizen, you go into 2 different categories. You can go into a Kaizen blitz or a Kaizen burst or a Kaizen event. So a Kaizen burst and a Kaizen event are the same thing, but a Kaizen blitz is a little different. And it goes sort of like it sounds. It's a blitz. It's something that can be done really quickly. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. A Kaizen blitz can be making a quick change to maybe a process that you know how to fix. It can be making a quick change, maybe take anywhere from 30 minutes to a day. It's not anything that's going to require a lot of time from you or from anyone else. Certainly no pre-work is going to be needed like you would need for a Kaizen event or a Kaizen burst. Now where we get that term from, Kaizen burst, is the little burst that you see on a value stream map. When you look at a VSM, a value stream map, you'll throw out these little Kaizen bursts around areas that you need to improve on. And that's where you get the name Kaizen burst. We just use Kaizen event, okay? Same difference, but here's the main difference between a Kaizen blitz and a Kaizen burst. A Kaizen burst takes a long time. When I say a long time, 3 to 5 days. There's some pre-work needed for the Kaizen burst. Like, so there's some pre-work needed before you get to the actual event. Whereas with the Kaizen blitz, you just kind of get it done. I've heard people say just get it done, just do it. Those kinds of things are what you would consider a Kaizen blitz. So now I'm going to be looking at my notes here because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. We're going to be focused on, in this video, we're going to be focused on the Kaizen burst or the Kaizen events, okay? So some non-negotiables. Number one, you must have a charter. So a charter is just sort of like a map. It sort of lays everything out from the team members, the problem, all that stuff, right? That's on the charter. It's almost like a little contract. You want to keep your team members cross-functional between 5 and 8 members. Anything less than 5 and you don't really have a lot of substance there, anything over 8 or 9, when you start getting that big, I'm telling you just from my experience, it starts to go in every which way and it's hard to pull the team together and keep them organized. It's not to say it can't be done, but it is more difficult. And I've ran these Kaizen events with 20 people. So just take my word on it. It's easier when it's around 8 people. And you want to make sure you get that cross functionality. It's going to give you more breadth. It's going to give you more substance when you're trying to solve this problem. When you're talking about the charter, the main thing you want to talk about, this is a huge non-negotiable. I see it messed up all the time. And that is scoped. You want to scope this event properly. what will normally happen is you'll want to solve all the problems. And if you don't want to solve all the problems, certainly your manager, your director, whoever, they're going to tell you to solve all the problems. The issue with that is, and I've seen it happen, is that when you go in there to solve all the problems, you walk away with none of the problems solved and a list longer than the list that you went into the event for, right? So you want to make sure that you scope this properly. You're in the event to solve one problem. Scope that problem correctly. Listen, if it's a problem, then it's been going on for a while, right? So you want to make sure that you're bringing the team together to fix that one problem, not fixing everything going on in the entire company. So make sure you manage your managers and you manage their expectations. And that's really your role as a continuous improvement professional, is to manage these types of events, to set the expectations, and to make sure that the event is successful. And to do that, you have to sometimes have the difficult conversations of saying, look, I know you want to fix these 10 things, but we're only going to bring these people together for 3 to 5 days. All right, what are the top 3 problems that you'd like to fix? And then let's start scoping it down to one single problem we can fix during that 3 to 5 day event. And that's why the charter is so important. So make sure you don't skip the charter. Now that you've scoped it down to a specific problem, you need to come up with a problem statement, which is also going to go in the charter. This is also one of those non-negotiables. All right, when you're talking about the problem, everybody wants to, most of the time people say, I know what the problem is. Okay, well that's great. But then they say, they can tell you what the problem is. That's also great. But when they try to write it down, it's more difficult because people don't know the structure of writing a problem statement down. So I'm going to give it to you really easily. And it's really based around the SMART goals. You've probably heard these before: specific and measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed. It's kind of like that. But you can follow the 5 W's and 2 H's and you can come up with your own problem statement. And the 5 W's and 2 H's are the who, what, when, where, why, how, and how many. So I've gone over this in another video. I'm not going to do it again. But if you go through those 5 W's and 2 H's, you can formulate a nice problem statement with clear metrics on when the problem started happening, how far out of spec something is, and what the expectations are to get back on track. So that's what I'd say about the problem statement. And when I'm talking about problem statements, I like to use this tree example, right? So if you were to look at a tree, at the very top of the tree you have symptoms, right? Symptoms of a problem. And then beneath the problem you have a lot of the causes. So take for example, if I were to say that, I'm not feeling well. Oh, well, what's wrong with me? Well, it could be that, I'm sluggish, I'm tired. It could be that, I'm not eating properly. These are all symptoms at the top of the tree, okay? These are symptoms I'm experiencing from some underlying problem. So as I go down through the trunk of the tree, you take my temperature, right? And maybe my temperature is 103, and you say, well, your temperature is 103, that's probably why you're feeling sluggish. So now we have a metric in the trunk of the tree that's associated with all these symptoms, right? Oh, you have a high temperature, but we don't know what the cause of the high temperature is. So then we go below the ground to all these different roots, which could be causes, right? Maybe it's that I have the flu. It could be that I have just a normal common cold. It could be a plethora of things underneath the ground, those causes, right? And we want to hone in on the root cause to fix it all. But sometimes you got to fix some of the other causes too. So I know I'm going through this rather quickly, but I'm trying to get through a lot of material in a very short period of time because I don't want this video to run on and on and on. Just know that when I teach Kaizen, I can teach Kaizen over an entire week. So keep that in mind as I go through this video, and don't beat me up too bad for maybe missing some things or not sharing something that you think is important with the Kaizen. So there are 3 components to ensure Kaizen success. Number 1, there's pre-event. There's a lot of things that happen leading up to the event. There's a lot of work that has to take place leading up to the event. Then there's the actual event, the 3 to 5 days that you're doing the actual Kaizen. And then you have a post-event. All right, so let's go over these really quickly. So when I'm talking about pre-event, all the pre-work that needs to happen leading up to the event, I like to start 5 weeks out. So during those 5 weeks, you want to make sure you confirm commitment. So let's say we take the events here, we're going to go 5 weeks back. And in that 5th week, we want to make sure that we're confirming leadership commitment, that they're still going to be on board with this thing. We want to agree on the issues that need to be resolved. We need to select a leader for the event, not a facilitator, a leader. This is someone who can actually make decisions in the Kaizen event. So, facilitating is one part of it. That's you, that's me. We're the facilitators, but we need someone in the event that can make decisions, right? And then when you get 4 weeks out, you want to make sure you scope and you know how long the duration is going to be. Again, 3 to 5 days. You want to gather current state data. This could be like cycle time, lead time, defects, things like that. Then you want to establish what success would look like, right? Remember we talked about the sick person, right? If I was sick, you know that my temperature is 103. What success would look like is my temperature would be 98.6. That would be success, right? And then you want to choose your team members. And remember, 5 to 8 people, make sure they're cross-functional. And make sure that you know these people. If you don't, listen, sometimes you're going to get some people in there with some really strong personalities. That's okay. You'll learn to manage that. If you know these people, try to get a good team, especially if it's your first 1, 2, or 3 Kaizen events. You want to make sure you get people that are not too confrontational. They're going to bring good ideas, they're going to participate, and they're not going to try to slow the meeting down. So make sure that you get the right people in the room. Now, when you're 3 weeks out, you want to make sure you book the venue or the room wherever you're going to be hosting this event. You got to make sure you schedule that. Make sure you invite all the attendees. Confirm attendance. Make sure they've either confirmed they're coming or they're going to send a replacement. And then here's where you want to start getting your materials. You need flip charts, sticky notes. I love the multicolored sticky notes. Those are invaluable during these types of events. Pins, etc. Just make sure you have all your materials ready. So now we're 2 weeks out, right? 2 weeks from the actual event. You want to have a communication meeting with the Kaizen team. So you're pulling the team together, there's 5 to 8 people. You're talking about the event, what's going to happen, sharing the charter, the problem statement, all that stuff. And then you want to send out an agenda and make sure that charter is complete for the event. And now you're down to 1 week. Pretty much everything's in place. You're ready for your event. I would just send out a confirmation email to make sure everybody's going to be there. Anybody who's not going to be there is going to send a replacement. And yeah, you're ready for the event. So now that completes all the pre-event stuff. Now you're in the actual event, right? Day 1. And I keep it around the PDCA. All right, I like doing the PDCA during the event. So that's plan, do, check, act, if you've never heard of that before. And so when you get into the event, first of all, you want to make sure you do any introductions if needed, like going around the room. I think that's important, especially if the people in the room don't normally work together. Then you want to recap why the event is occurring. Have leadership or an area manager give a quick speech. That always helps on the importance of what's happening that week. And then it also helps people stay engaged, because a lot of times on day 3, they might start taking phone calls, and if leadership's backing you up on this, they'll usually be more engaged during the event. Make sure you review the charter. Agree on the problem definition and the problem statement. That should be okay by now, but make sure everybody agrees on it. Create the process map. So now you're going to create a process map of the current state. Review data and causes of the problem. So review any data and causes that are happening, which are leading up to those symptoms or those problems. Listen, this is the part where you're just kind of pulling everybody together on day 1 and making sure everybody's on track with what's wrong, what we're focused on, what we're going to be doing for the rest of the week. And you start pulling in some of that initial data. Now you may have a lot of that data from the pre-work, and that's where you're going to take it in and start organizing that data, right? Bring the team in, saying here's the data we have. Do we have the right data? And do we need to pull in any more data, and start organizing that data in a roundabout way. All right, so now we're into day 2. You want to start defining solutions. You can use a solution selection matrix to define optimal solutions based on the ease of implementation and cost. You want to try out these solutions, right? This is the D part of PDCA. And then we're now kind of going into day 3. That takes some time, actually. And again, you're facilitating, so you kind of gauge the time and how fast you want to move or how slow you want to move, and make sure that you're doing the things that are keeping the team on track and you're all focused on the right areas at the right times, because if not, it's going to start falling apart. Day 3, you want to start trying solutions, right? Monitoring to ensure the effectiveness of the solution. So let's say you pick some solutions and you're implementing those, right? You send a team out, we're implementing solutions, and you got to monitor those solutions, right? Make sure they're having the right impact that you were expecting, or at least some impact, right? And maybe you can go back and adjust a few things here or there, but you got to make sure you're making the right impact. So this is the part where you start checking of the PDCA cycle. So plan, do, check. You're checking to make sure that the solutions you're implementing that the team agreed on is that actually having an effect, a positive impact on what you expected it to be. So in day 4, you can start reviewing, okay, well, it didn't have the exact impact that we wanted, or maybe it had a negative impact. So you can go back and start looking at what you can do to make those solutions better, or maybe pull the team back together and say, look, we need to go in a different route, bring back that solution selection matrix, look at the solutions that you guys came up with, and maybe go in a different direction. It could happen. And if you're not finished on day 4, you'll continue doing these things into day 5, but you do want to stop somewhere around half a day on day 5 to 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want to start celebrating. You want to do a recap of what the week was like, and you want to start celebrating what you had done throughout the week, because you put a lot of work into this, not just you, but other team members. So you do want to celebrate. You can bring in pizza, ice cream, something to signify some sort of celebration. So now that you've gotten through the event, we've done pre-event, we've done actual event, now we're into post-event. Now remember, post-event doesn't mean we're going out solving more problems. It means that we've already solved the problem, and now the only thing you need to do in the post-event is send out a thank you note to the team members, reminding them of what the week was like, and maybe a quick recap of what happened, and thanking everyone for participating on the team. It was a success. Be positive no matter what. Keep the message positive. Make sure you send out a note to the high level people, that anybody, it's a high level overview. Make sure you send it out to the people in large, not just your team members, execs or leaders, other people throughout the organization to let them know how successful the Kaizen was, the things that were learned. Sometimes it might not be as successful, but you can say these are lessons learned during the week. That's a success in and of itself. The idea here is you want to promote, keep the message positive, and the best thing you can do is share pictures, which I'll go into in a moment. The other thing I would want to do, and I do this with all my Kaizen events, is complete a PowerPoint of the entire event. It's good for the email you're going to send out to the team and the rest of the organization in celebration. It's also good for historical records, right? You want to keep those historical records in case something happens again, or if you need to lead another event, you can use this outline and this guide to make the next Kaizen event better. All right, so we're coming down to the end here, and I want to just talk about some best practices that you can do to make your events better. Number one, take pictures throughout the event. While everybody's working, you've done your spill, they're doing their, they're working in their different teams or whatever. Make sure you walk around with a camera if you're allowed to do that in your organization. Take pictures, use your phone if you have to, but get pictures of the event. People love pictures when you're sharing, and it's also great to look back on. At the end of the day, I always like to do a pro and cons list. Like, make sure that you pull the team back together and you're still on the right track. Sum up the day on the pros and cons list. What happened that day, right? What are some good things that happened? Are we still on the right track? And then the cons. What are some things we can do to improve tomorrow? What are some things we can do to improve tomorrow to make the event go smoother? I like checking mood levels. I'll usually do like a range from 1 to 10, and I'll have people put a dot up there in the beginning of the morning so I can see where their range is. So let's say I have a range from 0 to 10, 0 being you're in a bad mood, 10 being you're in a great mood, and they go up and they start putting a lot of little red dots right around the 5 or 6 mark. I know that their mood's not that great. If they start putting dots around the 8 and 9 mark, I know that people are in a good mood. They feel like things are moving in the right direction, okay? And it's the same color, so there's no names or anything. They're just putting a dot on this big flip chart, 1 through 10. I feel good, I feel bad, that kind of thing. But it's great for you as a facilitator because you can start managing their emotions. So if you start seeing the mood of the entire class or the entire Kaizen event go down towards like a 2 or 3, you need to start asking questions like, what can we do to make this better? Or maybe you can start pulling them into different things to try to get their mood levels up. So we talked about pizza and ice cream celebration, coffee and snacks each day. That goes a long ways in the morning. Recap the previous day and goals for each day. So in the mornings, make sure after you look at the mood elevator, everybody's on the right track. Make sure you recap the previous day. Here's what we did, here's how far we got, and here's what we're going to be needing to do today. That keeps everybody on track. If you ever start to stray, look at the charter. In fact, I like to print the charter nice and big and put it on the wall. That way, if we start to stray, we can always go back and look at the charter to keep us on track and make sure we're focused on that problem that we put in the charter. Remember, at the end of the day, you don't want to keep people over, right? You don't want them working overtime because they're already pretty stretched and there's probably been some nice conversations happening, some great personalities that are clashing a little bit. Make sure you manage those. You don't want to keep people into overtime. You want to let them go at the time you designated early. If it's 8 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is, make sure you stick to those times. And if you facilitate properly, you will accomplish your goal, which is to solve that one problem. I know that was a lot in one video, guys, but you wanted to know about Kaizen events, and there's a lot to Kaizens, so I tried to get it all into one video. Maybe once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will maybe do a course on Kaizens or something, because I think Kaizens are a tool that's underutilized or not utilized properly sometimes, and they get a bad rap because of that. A lot of times people say we ran Kaizen events, but we didn't get anything fixed. Still a plethora of problems out there, and we just keep running these Kaizens, but nothing's getting better. And it's because we're just not scoping these things right. We're not getting the team on board. We're not doing this pre-event of 5 weeks out. It takes a lot of work to run a 1-week event. So that's up to us. That's what we're supposed to do as facilitators. So yeah, make sure you do that 5-week pre-work and make sure that event runs smoothly, and then don't forget that post-event stuff that you're supposed to do. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, so I just want to say I appreciate the support, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.